Now, basically, that's led to police turning up on my doorstep, 10 different court attempts to shut me down. I won't repeat the statement yet because I'm not prepared to pin that post, but it basically names the applicants. It says that I'm guilty under the Anti-Discrimination Act of vilification for these particular reasons that I'm not meant to actually say. So I don't really understand it at all.
Well, here at the Topher Project, we are staunch defenders of freedom of speech, and that includes the right to say things that other people might find offensive on any given issue. But one of the issues where we're really not allowed to do that here in Australia is on the issue of transgenders, and especially transgenders playing in women's sport. One person who found that out the hard way is Kirralie Smith, and she joins me now with an update on her court case. Kirralie, thank you so much for coming on to the Topher Project.
Thank you so much for having me, Topher.
Now, many of my viewers will be very familiar with you and your situation, but some will never have heard of you. So just in brief, there's quite a lot of backstory here, but in brief, what brings us up to this moment where you've just had a judgment and a punishment essentially handed down against you?
Yeah, I discovered that there were several males playing in female sport in Australia, and I took information, screenshots from the public domain that was posted by Football New South Wales and by a local football club. I reshared it and I asked what I think, and most Australians would think, are reasonable questions in terms of why are males playing in female sport and what's the point of having male and female divisions in the first place. Now, basically, that's led to police turning up on my doorstep, 10 different court attempts to shut me down, from apprehension of violence orders through to vilification. I am under a 2-year apprehension of violence order for identifying one of those males, and I have now been found guilty of unlawful vilification by 2 of the males because I've misgendered them.
I'm sorry to interrupt this interview with Kirralie Smith from binary.org.au. We will get back to her in just a second. And if you'd like to support Kirralie, and I do really encourage you to do so, head over to binary.org.au and you'll find a donate button there where you can support her as she fights for women's rights. If you'd like to support the Topher Project, well, my name is Topher Field. You're watching the Topher Project, and this is what I do. I bring you stories that largely the mainstream media won't. If you'd like to help me to keep doing what I do, then please buy me a coffee by heading over to topherfield.com. You'll find the Buy Me a Coffee button on the homepage there. And while you're there, also check out the shop where you'll find both of my best-selling books all about civil disobedience in the modern age, as well as the DVD of my multi-award-winning documentary Battleground Melbourne. You'll also find t-shirts and hoodies and caps and stickers and a bunch of different designs that are eye-catching and designed to start conversations. And everything you buy is going to help me to keep bringing you stories and interviews like this one. Thank you in advance, and let's get back to my interview with Kirralie Smith.
And some other things that are under, that will be under appeal. So I can't specifically refer to those things until those appeals have been done. But basically I've spoken the truth, taken information from the public domain, have been found guilty, been ordered to pay $95,000 in damages to those 2 players, to not refer to them, to remove any posts from my social media. But the next order also states that I am to pin a post to all of my social media and website that does name them and say that I have vilified them. I've been found guilty of vilification with a few other bits and pieces. But that's all under appeal, so I can't go into too many specifics.
Yeah, and it's one of the challenges of trying to keep my audience updated on these stories is obviously as legal things do drag on, they take quite some time, as you're finding out certainly the very hard way. There are things we can talk about and things that we can't. I want to talk a little bit about this judgment against you and some of the findings. There are, as you say, 2 different players. You've been ordered to pay a substantial sum of money to each of them. I noticed, though, that sum of money is supposed to double in 28 days' time if you haven't paid that sum of money. Can I ask, does the court give you an assessment of how the value has been calculated for those? Because it seems extremely punitive for them to say, well, the costs to them are this much now, but if you haven't paid in 28 days, somehow the costs, the reparations to them have to double.
Yeah, look, no specifics that make any sense anyway to us, and that is definitely one of the issues that will be appealing.
In that judgment, you made reference already, but I want to pause on this. you've been ordered to remove from your social media any posts referencing these individuals by name and any posts that have done what the court has deemed to be this vilification. And yet at the same time, you've been ordered to pin a post, as you said, naming these people and repeating these things that you said. There's a lot of layers to this. I want to go through them one by one. We have in Australia a constitutional implied right to the freedom of political communication. The transgenders in sport is a political hot potato right now. It is an issue that is certainly being debated nationwide. Is there any thought on your part that this may end up as a constitutional level appeal, or is that outside of your scope of thinking at the moment?
No, we included, it's called a 78B notice in our legal proceedings because there is an implied freedom of political communication in Australia. Binary, I am the spokeswoman, the national spokeswoman for Binary. We are a registered third-party political campaigner. So this is, quite significant. I am a mum. I am a country bumpkin. I'm all of those things as well. But we are registered as political third-party campaigners. And if we don't have the right to challenge public policy, Binary exists to challenge this particular policy. And if we're going to be punished and penalised, this has incredible ramifications for you, for people in similar situations to you, to all journalists, all political commentators and politicians themselves, because we're not allowed to use examples from the public domain, then we're going to be, I'm not the only one that's going to be in hot water, put it that way.
Yeah, well, certainly there are many other wonderful, particularly women I know, that are really campaigning on this issue and really copping it. And the courage being shown by yourself and some notable others is really quite remarkable. And it's regrettable that you have to show such courage in the face of a court system that seems so determined to try and ruin you financially. And the process, as you know well, is very much the punishment. Coming back to this post that you're now required to put up by these orders, you're required to pin this post. This contradiction, can I just get some clarity? So on the one hand, you've been ordered, you have to remove any mention of these people's names. On the other hand, you've been ordered to name them in a post. Did they come from separate judges or separate courts? How do you end up with just a directly contradictory set of orders?
Yeah, make it make sense, Topher. I can't make sense of it. My lawyers are still looking into it, but I have been in the same set of orders demanded that I must remove every post, any reference to them. I'm never to name them ever again. Like, that's also in there. And literally the next order from the same judge is there's a pre-prepared statement that they have all agreed upon, that the judge has put her stamp on and has said that I won't repeat the statement yet because I'm not prepared to pin that post, but it basically names the applicants. It says that I'm guilty under the Anti-Discrimination Act of vilification for these particular reasons that I'm not meant to actually say. So I don't really understand it at all.
So this is compelled speech now. It's not just stopping you from speaking. It's compelling you to have to say something, and one order directly contradicts another. So they put you in a situation where you cannot but be in breach of the orders that you've received. It's an extraordinary thing to have coming down from an Australian court. Well, Kirralie, what's next for you? You've already mentioned that there are things under appeal. Where are you taking this? How are you taking this forward?
Well, the apprehension of violence order, let me say that there were several that were made initially, interim orders. Only one of them basically made it to hearing. I was successful with that first one. They appealed it. It was upheld. I was put under a 2-year apprehension of violence order. We did appeal that at the appellant's court in New South Wales. I lost that appeal. So then we appealed, sought leave for the High Court. That was denied. So that matter cannot go any further, which has a lot of issues in itself. Then the vilification was done in the local court in New South Wales. So we have a few steps now. We can appeal, and whether that's to the Supreme Court or to the appellant's court or the district court, we're not, we haven't made that decision, put it that way. The legal team is still in consultation with that, but I have instructed them to go ahead with the appeal. We suspect it will end up at the High Court at some point, but we will take each step as it comes and fight this all the way, because it's not just free speech that is under threat, it is truth speech, and that is a really concerning aspect of these cases.
Well, I'm mindful of course, the seminal book 1984, where it talks about the fact that you were ordered to ignore the evidence of your own eyes, and that there was only one truth. It was an ever-changing truth in which the party was always right. And it certainly feels like we're living in some of those realities here today. I'm mindful of the UK decision that was made by their highest court over there that did find that for the purposes of their sex discrimination legislation, that in fact sex was in fact biological, that it did actually stem from birth. Obviously, that's a UK precedent that has no bearing over here in Australia. Are there any court cases, that are looking at setting a similar precedent here in Australia, or might you have to be the one that carries it all the way there?
Look, I may have to, and I'm very prepared to do that if that's what is required. But Sal Grover's case, Tickle v Giggle and Giggle v Tickle, there's two different ones there, but the same people involved. That will ultimately come down to what is a woman, and the courts will have to decide in law, because the bottom line is none of us would be in these situations if woman was defined in law, if it was in the Sex Discrimination Act, and if the Sex Discrimination Commissioner could define the word sex and woman, none of us would be here. It's very clear cut, very plain and simple, but we have all these complications because there are no definitions of woman in law, and hence we're being taken to court by men who wish they were women.
Look, it's an extraordinary thing. There are many Australians in your corner and supporting you. How can they find out more about Binary and in particular support you? I can't imagine what these court cases would have cost you up to this point in time. And certainly if you are going to have to go on and start setting precedents in the Supreme Court or heaven forbid the High Court, the sums of money involved are absolutely eye-watering. So please tell people how they can get behind you.
Yeah, look, I've already spent hundreds of thousands, and we are raising money for all of these things. And I just do want to say, even before that, thank you so much to every Australian and international person who has contributed. I feel so supported. I feel like so many people are standing with me. I don't feel alone in any way, shape or form, but there's still such a long way to go. So we don't, like, people are going, where's GoFundMe and PayPal and all the rest of it? We don't go there because, as you know, so many people get cancelled. They don't get access to their funds. We have our own website, www.binary.org.au. And if you do the /donate, you can donate to us there. Or you can contact me for direct deposit details if you prefer not to give your credit card details online. That's fine as well. So thank you to everyone who has supported me. Please continue to do so, because this isn't just about me. They're trying to silence me in an attempt to silence you.
It's an extraordinary time to be alive, that Western countries, which once prided ourselves on a partisan support of freedom of speech, once upon a time, it was something that united the left and the right of politics. Everyone agreed that we had to have the basic fundamental human right to be able to speak our mind freely, even if what we said was considered unacceptable by others. We still had the right to say it. And that very bedrock principle is very much in question in your court case and sadly in others as well. More strength to your arm, and I will put the link to your website in the description of this video so that people can find it. And I wish you all the very best. Thank you for coming on the Topher Project.
Thanks for having me, Topher.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. That was Kirralie Smith from binary.org.au. I'll put the link to her website in the description of this video so that you can go and support her. My name's Topher Field. This is the Topher Project, and I couldn't do this without your support either. So if you appreciate what I'm doing, bringing you stories that the mainstream media by and large won't even touch, then please help me to keep going by buying me a coffee via the button that you'll find at the homepage at topherfield.com. And while you're there, do check out my shop. You'll find my books, DVDs, shirts, hoodies, caps, and stickers, and everything that you buy is going to help me to keep the Topher Project going. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, because the algorithm loves you for it, and so do I. Please like, comment, subscribe, check out this video that YouTube thinks that you'll like while you're here, and as always, think free.